We've got Ethan Coleman joining us tonight. Ethan is wow, Ethan, I think I've known you your entire life. Does that sound right?
Yeah, whole life since I've been born.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that you're about to be a junior in college.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Very well. Are you excited to be a junior, or are you excited to be closer to graduation?
A little bit of both.
Right on. All right, so I think we have to start with, and I've got a different version of this, but you know the real answer because it's your life. But I'll share my perspective after you share your answer. How did you get started in running?
Um, it was middle school. I was basically still doing soccer, so I was just trying to do everything to stay in shape for soccer. I actually wanted to start out as a sprinter, but my coach told me I wasn't fast enough to sprint, so he made me do distance. And then basically since sixth grade, I started just doing track and field to stay in shape. I didn't really start taking it seriously though until probably sophomore year of high school was when I actually started like only doing track.
I'm going to come back to a question about what changed your sophomore year. But before you answer that, my recollection of your running was there was an 8/10 of a mile big block in the neighborhood that you lived in that uh, I lived in as well. And I would occasionally, or my kids would occasionally see you, or my wife would occasionally see you just hauling around this big block. And we eventually, I think my wife asked your mom, "Hey, why is Ethan always running really fast in front of our house?" And so, can you describe what was going on? Why were you running around the block so fast?
Basically, I would keep getting in trouble at home. So my parents would make me run around the block a few times to burn some energy because I was super ADHD. So basically, they were just like, "Yeah, go run around the block." And then my dad also used to make me do the run with him when he was doing a PT to get in shape.
How old were you when you knew you were faster than your dad?
Always, I basically anytime I ran against him.
Yeah, your dad and I have run plenty of Army physical fitness tests, and let's just say you would never have to worry about us beating you in any distance, Ethan. Oh man, so but you didn't have a love for it; it's just something that burned energy for you. Um, but I think you had to know, or your parents certainly knew at a young age that you were a gifted runner from the start.
Yeah, my parents definitely knew before I did. I definitely just really didn't realize that I was decent at running until again sophomore year of high school. I was like, hey, I could be pretty good at this.
And what was it about your sophomore year that made you realize that? Anything in particular?
Well, freshman year I ran like 4:40 in the mile as a freshman. So I mean, my coach was basically saying like, hey, like 4:40 is like pretty serious as a freshman. And I was also like didn't do uh track soccer actually my freshman year, so I was kind of just like, well, might as well just fully switch to running. And then sophomore indoor year, I ran really well. I ran 2:32 as a sophomore in my state meet, which is was pretty good then. Now it's like some sophomores can do it, but not a lot can. But when I did it, it was pretty legit
232 for what event?
for the 1,000 meters. And then I think I went on sophomore year outdoor and ran 4:22 in the mile or something like that, 4:24.
And the world record, just for everybody, so everybody can compare what we're talking about to the world record. It's like high 3 minutes 40 some seconds. Does that sound right?
3:43 flat, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh, I haven't looked it up in a long time. That's
Yeah, that
flying.
it's a roll, and that's like 57 points for 4 laps, so that's moving.
That's nuts. Well, spoiler alert, you've broken 4 minutes, right?
Yeah, I actually did this year. Ran 3:59. That was something.
Yeah, I mean the first man who broke 4 minutes, I think was in the 60s or 70s, and when that
Yeah.
happened, the world who followed such things, they just couldn't believe somebody could break 4 minutes. And now a kid who I knew growing up, your entire life broke 4 minutes. It's kind of wild for a guy my age to think about that.
Yeah.
All right, so you go to Virginia Tech. Well, let's go through high school a little bit. So
Mhm.
sophomore year, you're running the 4:22. I think you just said.
Mhm.
And was that your main event? Has always been the mile, but you've run multiple distances, right?
Yeah, I've I've ran everything. In high school, I ran 4x4, 500, 1,000, 800, mile, 2 mile, cross country, 5K. So I was basically whatever he told me to do, I'll just do it, kind of
Wh-
thing.
What's your best distance, you think?
Best distance,
Back
definitely
well in high school, what
in
was
high
it?
school. It definitely, I would say it was 1,000. The 1,000 meters is definitely like my sweet spot. The mile was definitely a close number two.
And the 1,000, I mean, obviously you can't sprint 1,000, but you can move really, really fast. So it probably feels like a controlled sprint, sort of.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm sincerely asking it. Besides just running a lot and running those particular distances, how do you get better? How do you improve your speed? Is it flexibility? Is it agility? What is it?
So like flexibility and agility definitely helps with staying healthy. I wouldn't say it helps too much with longer distance stuff because I'm not very flexible at all, and I manage. But it definitely for sprinting, it definitely helps with flexibility. It definitely helps you with getting faster. But getting faster, I would say definitely you do got to put in the work because it does take a lot out of you. Because I like actually did the opposite of most people do. They increase mileage throughout high school. I kind of started out a lot. And then when I went on, I mean, I had jobs, so I ran less days, which is kind of bad. By my senior year, I was only doing like 13 miles, 3 days a week. That was still my best year, but it was kind of, it's just, but in college now I'm doing like 60 miles, 55 miles, and I'm running way faster. So definitely more mileage and then focusing like workout groups. So like if you're doing a mile, you want to do like threshold, which is like cruise pace, something you can keep doing for like 30 plus minutes at a time. And then you want to work on like turnover stuff, which is like you can do strides, 400s, 200s. Sometimes we'll do some longer stuff like 800s, like at a 202 pace, which is 4 seconds slower than goal pace for like mile or 15, stuff like
Wow.
that.
Uh, do you worry about what you eat?
No, which is not good. Diet definitely, if you want to be like elite, diet's very, very big, which I'm definitely going to focus on a lot this summer in the school year because my coaches have been kind of harping on me getting the diet under control. We have like an assistant coach that helps with nutrition. He's always just like, I'm gonna send you diet stuff. You gotta follow if you want to make that next big jump. I'm like, I know, I got to, I'll do it. So diet definitely helps.
If you want to go from elite to what you described as elite, I think you're going to have to be hyper focused on your diet. But you're crazy fast without it. But before we go to college, I really do want to talk about your experience the last couple of years at Tech. But I distinctly remember, and I think it was the mile, uh, when you win the state championship for whatever event it is, you get a ring, right?
Yeah,
And there's a picture of you in the paper doing pointing to your ring finger
yeah,
because nobody was near you. You had all the time. You could have run backwards from that photo forward,
yeah.
right?
That actually is like a funny story because we spent the night over and my friend Tristan, you know him.
Yeah.
We actually the night before we researched what hand the ring goes on.
It's supposed to
So
go on
when
the
I
right
win,
hand,
I
right?
was like I could point at it and not look stupid.
So you,
So I
you
did
didn't you
that.
didn't know.
I didn't know. I mean, like I was like, oh man, I'm gonna win this. I was just that confident. Like I was just like, I gotta get a sick picture of it. Like you gotta look cool when you win.
And you knew somebody from the internet or the media in general or the newspaper was going to be snapping a picture of you.
I was hoping. I just wanted to celebrate. I mean, I if I didn't keep turning around that last 100 meters and let up that last 50, I could have probably ran a second and a half faster, which would have been nice. But who cares? 227 flats, pretty legit. So
Yeah, that's kind of speed I've never been able to understand. So let's real quickly because this will be fun. You knew it wasn't the thumb.
yeah.
You knew it wasn't the pinky.
hmm
You weren't going to let the bird fly, right? So,
some of the photos it looks like that, but
so it was down to the index finger or the ring finger.
yeah. But I was more worried about what hand it goes on to and I was like, all right, so what hand is it? So we looked it all up and I was like, yeah, I was like, this is gonna look sick.
So you were really confident that you were going to win.
Yeah, I was like junior year, I mean sophomore year, sixth place, junior year, third place after leading not 950 meters of it. I was like, no way. I was like, no one's beating me. I was like, I want it more than most people. So I was like, I'm not losing this one.
So when you run, whether it's 1,000 or the mile or another mid distance, are you do you feel like you're a great starter and then you maintain that great
Mhm.
start, or are you just an unbelievable closer or some other version?
So yeah, in high school, I was definitely a closer. Like our regional meet my senior year, basically, I was like, no matter what, I'm not leading this. So they wouldn't pass me the first 600 meters. So we ended up running like 68-second first lap, and then some kid took off, and then I was like, I'm just gonna sit in second and wait for more people to pass me, and I'll go with them. So we ended up going through 800 at like two 216 or something like that, and I ended up running like 214. So I closed on a 158. So I mean, in high school, closing in 158, like I would consider that like very impressive because not a lot of high schoolers can run 158, let alone the fact that I'm closing in a 158 in the mile.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man.
Mhm.
So, what grade were you in when colleges started paying attention to you?
It was actually junior year after my state meet is when Tech originally reached out, but colleges were reaching out all throughout my junior year and senior year. But the state meet, I ran 418, which was a PR, and then I came back like 45 minutes later and ran 156. And then they were like, "Yeah, like if you can double like that, like I can see you like doing good in college, focusing on like one event or something like that." That's what they're talking about.
But you're running. So let's use the spring as an example.
Hmm.
Well, now let's back up. You go to Tech. You're now a
Hmm.
freshman, and you run cross country. And you told me before we started recording that's same as in high school. You run cross country, and it's always 5K for cross country, right? And the I guess the
For
variation is terrain where you run.
for high school, it's always 5K. For college, it's you'll have a 6K, but after that, you'll always race 8Ks for conference, and then when you go
Hmm.
to like regionals and nationals, it's a 10K. That's all you run.
Oh, so the bigger the cross country event, the longer the distance.
Yeah,
I had no idea. That's
yeah.
I learned something tonight. That's fun. Uh, is the 10K brutal? Have you
Uh,
made it to that level?
I we made it to regionals this year. I was supposed to run it, but I got super sick 2 days out, like crazy fever, crazy. So I ended up not running it. But it was like this whole thing. Like we got our old coach back from a couple years ago, and he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna run it," and I was like, "All right." But my current coach, or the coach that recruited me, was like, he basically pulled me aside. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna scratch you." So we like when we got there, he like ran me over to the venue, and scratched my name, and then came back, and then we told our current coach now that I wasn't running, and he was like, "Oh." So it was like this like whole like argument about like not running and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, I guess, at the college level, right?
Yeah.
A lot more intense. All right. So, how was when you got to college and you're running 6Ks? How did it feel? Did it feel like
Rough. Rough, real rough. I would say I was I thought I was gonna get cut. I'm gonna be honest. That first cross season because I was running. I mean, I was running over 2 minutes slower than I am now. It's 3 minutes in some events. I mean, it's just like I was like not adjusted to that training, not doing good. Didn't race an indoor. Then I finally got the race in outdoor.
oh, so you didn't race in the winter, your
No,
freshman year. So when you got there, were you out of shape, or was the competition just better than you thought it was going to be, or both?
um, definitely out of shape for college running. Like it's just like a whole new world. It's like you're racing people in high school and then you're racing like 22-year-olds. You're racing grown men at that point. It's just like out of shape, just not good at cross in general. Just didn't help. shin splints, so I wasn't like fully at mileage over the summer. It was a bunch of things that led up, but yeah, it was just like a big adjustment, which happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, I imagine your competition is very, very, very different. I mean, yeah, you're going to get 18-year-olds in high school and 22-year-olds in college
Yeah.
as an 18 or 19-year-old.
hmm
Yeah. All right. So you ran in. Well, what happened in the winter? You just didn't have a great fall cross country
And
season.
you're basically focusing on base to get in shape for outdoor, trying to focus on that one.
Gotcha. And then by the time spring came around, what were the events you competed in?
Um, Strictly 15s. I think I only 15s and like 1/800. I opened up in 3:47, which was the second fastest time for the class before us. And then I paced a 2 mile and I ran 8:54. That's when I was like, all right, like when we go to California, I'm about to run something good. If I can run 8:54, not being that like great of distance shape, like it's gonna be good. Go to California, went to Mount Sac. I ran the 15. I ran 3:46. But I was like, all right, like it's whatever. I basically started from the back, and last lap I passed everyone and ended up winning the A section. And then the day after, we basically completely dropped out of the fast heat and went into the slowest heat. And we talked to like the meet director to set like a pacing time trial up because we had a flight in the morning at 6 in the morning and we didn't want to race at like 12 o'clock at night. So basically we did that, and then that was like when I was like, oh crap, like we're moving right now because we're going at 3:45 pace, and I was like on it, feeling good. A guy fell off in front of me, so I passed him. Ended up closing pretty hard and ran 3:43 too, which was at the time I think that was like the second fastest like freshman time in the nation or something like that in
Wow.
college. So
So by the spring, you were in great shape, incredible shape.
yeah, really good shape.
Wow. And when you say 3:43, we're still talking about the 1500, right?
Yeah, that's the 1500.
Yeah, which is close. It's a little bit shorter than the mile.
It's a 109 meters shorter. You don't run the mile outdoor, you only run it indoor for
Uh,
like indoors
gotcha.
mile, outdoors 15.
Gotcha. And why are the differences? Do you know the history behind that? It's a weird
I,
question. Sorry.
I actually have no idea. I mean, personally, I like it. 1500 feels way shorter than a mile, more than 100 meters. But I mean,
That's all
that,
mental.
yeah, that's all that matters to me.
For a guy that runs 55 to 60 miles a week, what's 109 meters?
Yeah.
But it's racing, and so I get the mental effect there.
hmm
Uh, so you got to travel out to California, and I imagine all over the country.
Yeah, California is the farthest we've been. We try to stay local because the more you travel, the more training you have to give up to travel, less fit you get. You can get prone to injury like that. You're just not in shape by conference because our whole goal is to win conference.
Did y'all win conference your freshman year in the spring?
No, we came second. We actually lost because a kid got DQ'd for celebrating, and we ended up losing by 7 points, and he won, and that would have been 10 points.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, that was like a whole thing, but he's doing really good right now. He's our 400 runner. He ran 44.5, which is like that's like a top time in the nation, like across like pros and everything.
Yeah, that speed doesn't register with me for that distance. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. All right, so you roll into your sophomore year, which you just completed your sophomore year of
hmm
school. Cross country felt better the second time around.
Oh, like 9 day difference. Like basically the first two races the first race was a 6K. I ran, I think the previous year I ran like 21:06. This was like terrible. And then I opened up in like 18:54. I was like, all right, I have a lot left. And then we did the 8K, and our course is like extremely hard. So I was like, all right, let me just focus on the middle half of my race because I was like, that's where I struggle because I was like, I know I can get out and like anyone can run the first 2 miles fine. And I always know I can close the last like 1200 mile pretty good. So I just always had to work on that middle. So I did that and I ended up running 20, 25. I think it was like 25, 30, 40 something, 40 low. And then the year before that, I was like my freshman year I ran like 27:01, something like that. So that
So,
was a big PR.
so the summer after your freshman year, you stayed in shape,
Yeah, basically, I got the hang of the training, and then we traveled to UVA, and I ended up running 24:29 at pre-nats.
which is a really good time, right?
Uh, for our team, and for me, it's a really good time. For our team, it's pretty good. I was like number 4, but for like other people, I mean, that's just like whatever for the cross guys.
The guys that are built for cross country.
Yeah,
Yeah, cross country for you is just to be in shape for winter and spring, right?
basically, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want to win, you want to compete. Well, so let
Hmm.
me ask you this. Your reference your dad running in the Army and me running in the Army. I don't think your dad enjoyed 1 second of running, and I know I didn't enjoy. Maybe there were 4 seconds at the end of some run where I felt like I ran faster than I should have, but running was generally not pleasurable for you. Is it something you enjoy the entire race, or do you enjoy the finishing and the starting, but not so much the middle? To your point around struggling, grinding through that, is
Hmm.
how would you describe how you feel about it as you're actually running?
Well, I guess like training. I mean, training's I personally, I it's just annoying because it's like, like especially summer training. Like no one likes summer training. Like you got to wake up early to beat the heat. You got to run all this mileage. You can't do everything everyone else does. Like that's just annoying. And then cross country is just kind of like the same thing. You're just like, I got to get up and run. And then indoor comes and you're like, okay, you start hopping on the track a little bit more, start doing more turnover, start racing indoor. And then outdoor comes around and you're just like, all right, like thank God indoor's over. We're finally outside again racing.
So, if I asked you to put in order what you like best to what you like the least, it sounds like it's spring outdoor, then winter, and then cross country.
Yeah, that's definitely like in order. Like that's how I like love it. Like outdoor's the best now. I used to love indoor in high school. Then you have an indoor track at Tech and you're just like, yeah, like my shins always hurt for running on the bank. It's that dry air. Then you just want to get outdoors, and that's just like so much more fun.
So the humidity actually helps you.
For the summer, yeah, because then you go up to Blacksburg, it's like no humidity, cooler air. They say like humidity is like poor man's altitude, so got a lot
Yeah,
of it here.
nice. All right, so after cross country, which sounds like you were definitely better your sophomore year than your
Hmm.
freshman year, and you competed this year in winter track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're running the 1500 and the 1000. I think you were saying those are
Yeah,
the two main
mile
events.
mile 1,000 indoors, and I ran a
Sorry,
3K in the DMR.
sorry, I'm having trouble keeping track
Yeah,
of all these
there's a lot of
distances.
different variations of events throughout indoor and outdoor.
What's your best in the winter? Your best
Uh,
event?
so I ran a 2:22 1K. I closed in 27. I had a lot left. I should have went a little sooner. I could have probably ran 2:21 mid. And then we went to the mile 3:59. And then we went to conference, or we actually did a DMR to
What's a
qualify.
DMR?
So it's a 1200, a 400, an 800, and a mile leg. So that in that order. And basically, to get the nationals, you have to be top 12 team in the nation to do that. And we went up to Boston. They have an insane track, so we ran it there, and we ended up running the ninth fastest collegiate time ever up there. So that was pretty cool. And then we had ACCs, ran the mile, then came back for the 3K, and I ran 8 flat. For never running a 3K, I was like, this might be my main event next year. So we'll see how that one goes.
Wow. So that DMR,
Hmm.
ninth fastest ever. Did that make y'all first for the year for that season?
No, actually, we were the ninth team.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's NCAA is pretty insane right now.
That's really insane. So I saw an Instagram post from a few months ago. You and three other guys set the record for Virginia Tech. But
Hmm.
what was the distance for the relay?
Uh, DMR, it's 12:48 mile.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a DMR record.
So yeah, school record. Yeah.
So it's not actually a relay. It's you guys are running those events separately, but the times are totaled. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So the 1200 goes, then we hand off to the 400, then we hand off for the 800,
Oh,
then
you
we hand
actually
off to
are.
the DMR.
You're
Yeah, so
you're.
we're handing off baton off. Yeah, it's like a
Oh,
super
that's
exciting
wild.
event.
I've
Yeah.
never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's probably the most, I would say, entertaining event to watch because it's always super close by the end.
Now that I've wrapped my head around it, can you give me the distances in order again?
1200 for the start leg, and then we have a 4, and then an 800, then a mile.
And did you run the mile?
I ran the mile. We obviously like don't have the strongest miler. I mean, I'm not the strongest mile leg. I think I split like 3:59 on it, but we had the fastest times through the first 3 legs like ever recorded. Like we had the fastest 1200 split in college probably ever recorded, fastest 400 split ever recorded. We had a really fast 800 leg through, and then the miles like just basically hold on, don't lose that positioning. You just gotta run fast enough.
How crushing would it have been if you lost that lead?
I mean, yeah, I would have been pissed. I mean, for a second when I finished, I thought we didn't make it, and then I was like, oh, we're good. But because some kid flew by me, and I was like, oh man, he's hauling ass right now because we had like a 20-meter lead, 50, 30-meter lead, so he was hauling ass to get in front of me. So I was basically just like, he's gonna fade, and that's what ended up happening. Like 300 to go, I started really closing him in again, and then gapped him probably by like 20 meters, 15 meters at the end of it.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure to do that last leg, though.
Yeah, it definitely caved in on me at nationals.
What do you mean by caved in?
Like we got the baton off in like fourth, and we ended up finishing 10th. But the milers there were I mean, I thought I was running super slow. I ended up splitting 401, but all the other guys were like ended up splitting like 355, 353.
Yeah.
So those guys, I mean, they're just like really good milers. Those guys are like top national runners.
Do you think by your senior year you're going to be like seriously nationally competitive?
Hoping next year. Hopefully next year I'm able to run like 354. That's like the goal. Something to get myself to nationals individually, not on a relay.
Okay, nice. And so that relay, I mean, very different disciplines from the mile down back to the 400, right? You're
Hmm.
not going to find a human being on earth that is dominant in the 400 and dominant in the mile, right? That just
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
No.
So, but does your team? I can see like a 4x400
Hmm.
relay team having a lot of camaraderie because they're all 400 guys. How did your team? Was that combination of four guys? Did you guys come together well as a team, or
Oh
does that
yeah. I
not
mean,
matter?
you obviously have to get lucky to have 4 people that can run fast enough to do that. That alone is pretty hard. Like we got super lucky with getting Nick Plant, who was our 1200 guy. He's was the number 1 guy out of high school for 800. He's still like top 10 collegiately ranked right now. He's actually running nationals tomorrow night in the final for the 800.
Wow.
Yeah, he's probably one of the better runners I've ever seen. Then we have Chris, who's our 800 guy. He's always been injured, but he got healthy this year and he had a really good breakthrough season. Then we had Judson, our 400 guy, who's absolutely going insane this outdoor season. I think he won 3 outdoor events. I think he scored like 30 something points total for outdoor.
And so, how does Tech rank nationally? How did y'all end up?
Throughout the outdoor season, we were ranked top 10. We were ranked top 10 this outdoor for men's.
So you're an elite track team.
Yeah, we're up there.
So the kid that is really fast in the 800, is he
Hmm.
from Virginia?
He's from Ohio.
Okay, so Tech's got some reach then for track.
Yeah, we go all over the country.
And then Judson, the 400, is he from Virginia?
Maryland. He's closer, but yeah, he's from Maryland.
Are you the only guy on the track team from Virginia?
Um, no, our 800 guys from Virginia. We have
Okay.
a few Virginia guys that are up there.
So there's a guy that is about your size, about your height, similar build, and I think at one point, was it a few months ago or maybe even a year ago, you guys had what I would call a mullet. Is that
Oh,
fair?
yeah, me and Trevor.
What does Trevor run?
He runs more of the distance stuff like 5K, 10K.
Oh wow, so he's a real long distance guy.
Yeah,
And are you one of the? I mean, you're what? How tall are you, Ethan?
like 5'10".
Yeah,
I'm
so
not like super tall.
you're average height for a
Hmm.
man in America. Are the guys that run your events typically taller or shorter?
Um, Everything. Like some of the fastest pros in the world are my height. Some of them are 4 inches, 5 inches taller than me. Like,
Wow.
I mean, height doesn't play a huge factor, but it definitely helps a little bit if you're taller. You just have a longer stride.
Yeah, if you can generate, yeah, and I don't understand the physics of running, but I would think that a taller guy does have an advantage, but it sounds like not really.
Yeah, not really in distance, I would say. I don't know about sprinting because I'm not a sprinter, but distance, it's height doesn't really matter.
All right, so what motivates you to do all this running, man? Because you want to win
Yeah, I
in the
hate losing. Like that's why I like running, I guess. I mean, the training sucks, but racing is what it's all about. Like
so
losing's the worst feeling ever.
you absolutely adore the competition.
Yeah, I've always been competitive, and running is like as competitive I feel like as you can get in a sport because it's like you versus everyone else. Unless you're on a relay, like who cares if your teammate's next to you? Like if he falls, you're just gonna keep running.
Yeah,
Basically, it's like one of those things. It's all on you.
yeah. It's besides the relay. To your point, it's a very very individual sort of endeavor.
Hmm.
Yeah, and but I'll quote Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights: "If you're not first, you're last." So I guess coming in second stinks as bad as coming in last.
Yeah, you don't. So I feel like almost seconds worse. Like at nationals, like if I'm runner up, man, I'm gonna be pissed that I couldn't pull that extra like half a second to beat the guy in front of me.
So every time there's a winner, there's a guy who comes in second place,
Yeah,
and every time there's a winner, how many people didn't come in first place that competed in that event? A bunch, right?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what's your goal for next year cross country? Do you have one, or is it just hey, I'm going to keep running and stay in shape?
Team goal is definitely qualify for nationals as a team. I feel like if everyone stays healthy, we get everyone runs the times they want to run. Like that's definitely a possibility. I mean, I feel like that's anyone's goal. But my personal goal is definitely gonna run. Hopefully, run 23s, 23 high, 23:40, something like that would be really nice
For the
for
6K,
8K, for the 8K.
8K.
Yeah.
And remind me, 8K is that regionals?
Conference. So like ACCs. Then once you go to regionals, you run 10K, and nationals is also a 10K
All right, so 8K in the conference. Who's your main competition? Not you personally, but Virginia Tech's main competition in the ACC.
for cross.
Yeah,
Probably everybody. We're
really?
not the best at cross, and the ACC is normally holds 7 of the top 25 ranked teams in the country.
Wow.
So ACC is pretty hard for cross country.
Who are the top three typically?
UNC, Wake Forest is normally really high up there, and then I think it bounces between like FSU can be up there, Notre Dame's up there a lot of the time, UVA is up there a lot.
Yeah, and all these schools are recruiting, to include Tech, recruiting all over the country, right?
Yeah, even overseas, a lot of those schools actually go overseas to get people.
Like Ethiopians and Kenyans and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's
Wow.
mainly seen in like SEC. Like SEC is like huge on out of country kids.
Yeah, especially Central Africa has been known for decades as having ridiculously fast distance guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what's the goal for winter track?
219 in the K. I feel like that's pretty doable. 220. Nothing slower than that realistically. Mile qualify for nationals, so it's probably gonna be 355 flat, 354. 3K. I mean, I could probably open up in a 750 something. I feel like that shouldn't be that bad. But I feel like end goal would be 750s. And then if I do run 800, 148 indoors would be good. And then DMR, I mean, win. I mean, if I can run 355, 354, like we're winning that DMR at nationals.
All right, dude, you've got to text me at every stage of you running after once you get into conference.
Hmm.
It's basically a conference meet. Does every school show up at the conference meet?
Every ACC school, yeah, at
Yeah.
conference.
So you've got to tell me, hey, uh, the the DMR is coming up on here's the date, and if it's televised somewhere streaming or whatever
Yeah.
on the internet, I really want to watch that now that I understand it.
Hmm.
I just knew you were part of a 4-man team that set the record at Tech, but the DMR sounds amazing. Actually, it's
Yeah.
fairly new, I imagine.
I don't know how new it is collegiately, like how new they added it, but you can find. I mean, you could probably end up watching our video on the NCAA Track and Field Network, like the 2023 or 2024 indoor meet.
Okay,
Like it'll be on there. I know that.
all right, I'll find it. That's awesome. All right, so sounds like Tech's has Tech ever won a national championship in winter track?
They haven't. Tech's actually like one of two Power Five schools that's never won any national team title
In any sport?
in any sport. Has never won a national team title. We've won individually, but never team.
Well, so I'll just say this real quickly. My dad went to Tech, so I grew up a Tech fan. Then I did not go to Tech. Kind of rooted against Tech for much of my life, and then of course, as you know, my son just finished his senior year at Virginia Tech, and you can see over my shoulder I've got a Virginia Tech hat and some other VT references. Um, there's certainly a big part of my life where it would have made me very happy to know that Virginia Tech has never won a team sport out of the Power Five. But that makes me sad with having a son that goes there. Makes
Yeah.
me very sad. So is winter track going to be winter or spring track next year going to be y'all's opportunity to break that?
I would definitely say if we have a sport that's gonna win, it's definitely gonna be track. We definitely, I would say in the next year or so, we definitely have a pretty good shot if we get more people individually in on the guys' side to win indoor and maybe outdoor.
Yeah. Wow, that'd be amazing, right? First team to ever win a national championship
Yeah.
at Tech.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy to think because Tech has had amazing athletes come through there in lots of sports.
Yeah, like football, like we only came number 2 overall. We just lost in the championships in football.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years before you were born. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so the idea of competing in winter track in the conference, the ACC meet, are you guys more competitive in the winter than you are in the fall?
Oh, 100%. Like we actually this year was the first year we haven't won in 3 years. Like we three-peated.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so we came second again.
Okay. That's so you're definitely one of the team goals is definitely to win winter track conference.
Yeah, I mean that's always our goal is to win conference.
And then the regionals, who ends up? Is it a geographical thing? Because the word
Yeah,
regional,
so
yeah, it's Mid Atlantic.
um so in cross country there's a bunch of regions. Like I actually don't even know other regions, but indoor there's no regionals, it's just top times.
Mm.
So I think it's like top 16 times in every event except for relays it's top 12. And then outdoor it's regionals as the east like the east and the west region. So there's like a line where it's like separating the east and the west.
Oh, so it's really just two regions.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's like they draw the line on the Mississippi or something.
I don't know exactly where they draw it. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I obviously don't know the answer to that either. All right. So goals for spring next year because that's the one
Um,
you really look
yeah,
forward to. You enjoy the
yeah,
most.
yeah.
Sounds like.
Goal definitely make regionals. I mean, I got kind of screwed out of it this year, I would say, because the time
Tell me
was
more.
I ran 341, like 9, and that's made it every single year except for this year. It was over a second and a half faster than previous years were, and like 10 less scratches. Normally there's like 20, 22 scratches. This year there's only like 11. So nobody like wanted to not run it for some reason. I mean, I'm kind of mad about that. And then, so that's definitely goal number 1, regionals. Hopefully I open it up. I mean, if I run a 5K, I want to break 14. That seems pretty doable. 800, I want to run like 148 again. 1500, definitely 330, 338, 337.
Flying, man. Absolutely flying. All right, Ethan. Do you have any prospects or goals to keep running after college?
If the money's right, That's all I'm saying.
But don't you have to be elite to get
Yeah,
money in your sport?
basically, yeah.
But I mean, you have the potential. You have
Yeah,
the
I would definitely say if I start dieting, training a lot harder, yeah, I definitely have potential to go pro after school.
and pro. You're who ends up paying pros? Is
Uh, Brands like Nike, Adidas, all those
so
big
you
ones.
line up some sponsorships and
Hmm.
yeah, away you go. All right, well, dude, that's awesome. If you were going to run the mile against your dad, and your dad's obviously not going to run the entire mile, what distance would he have to run before he can pass the finish line before you do, or cross the finish line before you do? So let me say it differently. If your dad was half as fast or twice as slow as you,
Hmm.
you put him a half mile away from the finish line,
Oh,
and you
I
have
think
to
I'm
be
beating him a half mile.
so how close
Actually,
of a
no.
distance?
I'll give him 1,000 meters. So
Really?
yeah, Uh, I
So it's
mean,
a mile 1609 meters.
yeah.
Is that right?
So 2.5 laps. I'll give him.
You're giving him 1,000 meters when it's basically a 1,600 meter race.
Yeah. I think if he starts 600 meters before me,
You could still
I think
take him.
I'll, I think I'll beat him.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm saying you're giving him 1,000 meter lead.
Oh, 1,000 meter. I think nah. 600 meter head start. Maybe
I think you
maybe it'll be
crush.
too easy. 800. I mean, screw it. I'll give him 800.
I think you'd kill him even with 800.
Yeah, I guess that's four. It's 8 minute mile pace. I don't know if you can run that.
All right, so if you go pro, man, I will say I've known a pro athlete from his birth, just about.
Yeah,
That's
nice
wild.
dude.
The kid who ran in front of my house, like Ethan, you were tiny as a little kid and you were flying. I didn't understand how something that small could move that fast.
I was just burning energy. I guess
Did
I don't know.
you,
My parents were making me.
did you get so I mean part of what you have is genetics. What side of your family does your speed come from?
We're still trying to figure that one out. I'm gonna be honest. My parents keep saying I'm adopted at this point.
No, I know that for a fact. It's not true. Well, I should say I know that for true. I feel very confident you're not adopted, but it is definitely a mystery which side of the family your speed comes from. Do you regret not playing soccer longer?
Nah, I wouldn't. I don't regret it.
Uh, what's the one thing about track that the casual sports fan doesn't know, and if they knew, they'd be watching track a lot more?
I would say most people will just think it's boring. Like they're just like, oh, it's just people running around. Like a lot of people who say it's not fun to watch actually have just never watched it because I mean, I would say it's pretty exciting because there's never times where it's not close. There's always somebody, unless you're going to those like watching those pro meets. Sometimes there'll be like a super dominant athlete who will just always win, but like 90% of the time, it's always like a tight race and it's always super exciting, especially if you know what's going on.
Yeah, and if you're watching, whether it's the 100 meters or the 1,500 meters, if it's close, that's exciting. If it's somebody who wasn't expected to place in the top three ends up winning, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Somebody setting a world record, that's exciting, or a
Hmm.
national record, or a school record, or whatever it ends up being. Yeah, and so I find myself, and with your last 2 years, I need to be keeping better track of what you're doing. But when the Olympics roll around, I love watching track.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's the world's best competing at various distances, and I love watching it. But I don't know it the way you know it, and so you've educated me tonight. I appreciate that, Ethan. I wish you a ton of luck going into next year. I think you're going to meet all your goals. In fact, I don't think you're setting them high enough, man. I think you underestimate you being disciplined around diet and what impact that's going to have.
Yeah. I definitely thank you. That means a lot. I mean, I definitely haven't tried it. And I was running pretty good. So my goal is every year I'll try something new, go a little harder on the cross train. So once everything like finally meshes, like hopefully it'll just be every goal I hit.
Yeah, it'd be pretty sweet if that happened, right?
Yeah.
And that's definitely what you're striving for.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. If you could give advice to a ninth grader or 10th grader about track, what would you tell them?
Mileage.
Just
in
get
high
it
school,
done.
like mileage. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna suck. It's not fun, but when you win, it's fun. Like if you don't put in the work and you don't win, you're not gonna like it. But if you put in the work and you win, you're gonna love it. It's one of those love hate sports. There's no in between. Either you're really good or you're just not good.
Super high highs and pretty low lows.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you're coming in the back half, um, and you're putting in a ton of miles, but you still can't get to the better than
hmm
average. That's got to be brutal, right?
I mean, it's just some people. Running is one of those sports where I feel like it's not like football, not like basketball. Like, I mean, yeah, you have to be like naturally gifted at it, but track, it's like one of those things. Like, if you don't have a gift, no matter how much work you put in, it just won't work out.
Yeah,
And a lot of people don't know that they have a gift until they do it, basically.
yeah. It's one of those things. Yeah, you're not going to figure it out until you actually do it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Ethan, it's good seeing you, man. Are you going on the trip in August to the
Yeah, I
beach?
am.
All right, sweet. Hopefully, we'll get all 5 of you guys there together. It's
hmm
been a while since we've had all 5 of you
I
together.
know my parents have been talking about it.
Yeah, so we've been talking about it in our family. Of course, Zach's still in Blacksburg right now,
Yeah, I
and
know. We're trying to get him down to come hang out with us.
down here,
Yeah, for a weekend or something.
he said he might do that, but who knows? I talked to him a little while ago. He gave me bad information as we discussed before we started recording, so I'll have to figure out where he got his bad info from. Well, it was close. It just the forum was different. All right,
Mm.
cool. Well, Ethan, tell your parents I said hey, and yeah, you now that I have a better way to communicate with you, you can pop me every once in a while, like, hey, check out this event we're doing.
All right, sounds good. I will.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
All right, you're welcome.